Good evening. This is CTV News for Thursday, March 3rd. I'm Rochelle Metzger.
And I'm Byron Scott. Glad to have you with us tonight. Well, Maryland's highest court is expected to rule soon on whether Baltimore City police officer William Porter should be forced to testify against his colleagues. Judges heard arguments in the case during a hearing today in Annapolis. Our Karen Adams is there with more.
Officer William Porter's attorney argued before the 7 High Court justices his client should not be forced to testify at the trials of Officers Cesar Goodson and Alicia White because he's not a witness as he faces a retrial in the Freddie Gray case.
Every time he gets up on the stand, he subjects himself to a perjury charge which carries 10 years more.
The justices also heard from prosecutors in the case who feel Baltimore City Circuit Court Judge Barry Williams erred when he ruled to not force Porter to testify in the trials of the 3 arresting officers, Garrett Miller, Brian Rice, and Edward Nero.
I believe it was an appropriate and wise decision for the Court of Appeals to take this case from the intermediate court.
All 6 officers charged in the case attended the hearings, which centers around the state's immunity statute.
These issues are settled law in Maryland and in the United States. It's always been a prosecutor's weapon to grant immunity to witnesses once they make their showing of proof. And that appears to be what took place in this case.
Porter's trial last December ended in a mistrial when jurors were unable to reach a unanimous decision on the 4 charges against him. The 6 officers have all pleaded not guilty in the death of Freddie Gray, who suffered a severe spinal injury while in the back of a police van last April. The trials against the 5 officers and the retrial of Officer William Porter are on hold until the 7 justices here at the Courts of Appeal make their ruling. A decision is expected soon. Karen Adams, CTV News.
And the hearings continue tomorrow.
A lawsuit has been filed against the city of Glen Arden by the family of one of the alleged victims of Deontay Caraway. Caraway is the former school aide charged in a child pornography case in Prince George's County. He often held group activities inside the city's municipal building as the director of the Glen Arden Voices of Youth Choir. The family's lawsuit asserts that the city failed to supervise the 22-year-old while he had access to minors in government buildings. The suit follows 3 others that have been filed alleging that Prince George's school officials failed to act after being alerted to reports of abuse. In addition to his choir work, Caraway was a volunteer at Judge Sylvania Woods Elementary. He faces 13 federal charges of sexual exploitation of a minor to produce child pornography, in addition to local charges in Prince George's County.
A measure aimed at protecting children is before the legislature. State Attorney Angela Also Brooks testifying today in support of House Bill 825. The measure would require individuals such as teachers, healthcare workers, and police who believe a verbal threat of imminent harm or death has been made to or about a child to notify child services.
We had a case in the county where a young woman made a threat saying she wanted to kill her daughter. She went to 2 police officers, 2 police stations, and a hospital, and nobody was required to let the authorities know about this threat. We want to make sure that we clear up this loophole, that we protect children, and this is now a requirement that if you are a mandatory reporter, you must report that threat of harm to a police officer or to Child Protective Services.
And that case was the 2014 deaths of Kayla and Aiden Spoon, who were suffocated by their mother. Lawmakers in Annapolis also looking at paid sick leave. The 2016 Healthy Working Families Act is before the House Economic Matters Committee. It would allow employees to earn 1 hour of paid sick leave for every 30 hours worked, up to 7 full days. It also allows part-timers to accrue days as well. Supporters say the measure is much needed.
We've had the experience of people losing jobs because a family member or they themselves get sick. It's not uncommon to lose your hours, lose your shift, or just not be welcomed back once you're feeling well. And that leads to people not skipping work when they're sick and trying to do everything they can. And that just doesn't help with productivity, doesn't help with the dignity of the worker themselves.
And according to the Institute for Women's Policy Research, more than 700,000 Marylanders cannot earn paid sick leave.
Meantime, the General Assembly is also considering a landmark voter registration measure. The reform would automatically sign up all eligible residents when they interact with the Motor Vehicle Administration and other state agencies. 25 states and the District of Columbia have similar pending legislation. Oregon and California were the first two states to pass the reform and expect to add up to 7 million new voters on the rolls. The House Ways and Means Committee is scheduled to hear testimony on the issue today.
Well, it may feel like spring a few days ago, but it looks like Old Man Winter is coming to visit our area. Forecasters are predicting light snowfall up to 2 inches between 10 tonight through the morning, which will likely impact the rush hour commute and school end times. Forecasters say daytime temps will hover in the lower 40s tomorrow, so the white stuff will likely be melting or melted by the evening. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Byron Scott.
And I'm Rochelle Metzger.